Daniel 9, Jesus' ministry and the Jewish-Roman War. In Daniel chapter 9, verses 1 and 2, Daniel is reading the scripture of Jeremiah. This is not the Bible, but scripture by Jeremiah regarding the prophecy of the 70 years of Babylonian captivity of the Jewish people. Then we see Daniel praying. Daniel chapter 9, verses 21 and 22. Gabriel comes and provides Daniel with insight and understanding. Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. 77s are decreed for your people and your holy city to finish transgression, to put an end to sin, to atone for wickedness, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision, and prophesy, to anoint the most holy place. Also, it could be said, the most holy one. We see this in Luke chapter 3, verses 7 to 22. The putting to the end of sin, and the baptism of John at the Sea of Galilee of the most holy place, or most holy one, which is Jesus being baptized. This is the beginning of Jesus' ministry. We also see the baptism of Jesus and the beginning of his ministry in Matthew chapter 3, verses 13 to 17, and also Mark chapter 1, verses 9 to 11. In Daniel chapter 9, 25 to 26, we see the rebuilding and restoration of the temple. The second temple that was under construction at the time of the Herodian dynasty continued for many decades. In Daniel chapter 9, 25, the Bible mentions a trench. We believe this would be one of the trenches dug in order to support the walls of the temple. These walls were incredibly thick. Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, the Bible also talks of the restoration of Jerusalem. We know Jesus sets about cleansing and restoring the temple. We see this in Matthew chapter 21, verses 12 to 13, Mark chapter 11, verses 15 and 17, Luke chapter 19, verse 45, and John 2, verses 14 through to 19. John chapter 2, verses 14 through to 17. In the temple courts he found people selling cattle and sheep and doves, and others sitting at tables exchanging money. So he, Jesus, made a whip out of cords and drove all from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. To those who sold doves he said, "Get these out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a market." His disciples remembered that it is written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." In Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, after the 62 sevens, the Anointed One, Jesus, will be put to death and will have nothing. The people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end will come like a flood. War will continue until the end, and desolations have been decreed. In Daniel 9, verses 26-27, we see the beginning of the Jewish-Roman War. It begins with protests against the Roman official of Judea, Gaius Florus, when the second temple was plundered and offensive sacrifices were set up at the synagogue, and also the execution of thousands of Jews. The Jewish rebellion erupts, and a massive Roman army is eventually deployed. At the height of the Jewish-Roman War, Vespasian becomes emperor of Rome, and Titus, Vespasian's son, is essentially the prince who brings destruction with his military assignment to Jerusalem and besieges the holy city. In Daniel chapter 9 verse 26, the end will come like a flood. War will continue to the end. With hundreds of thousands of people killed, blood flowed like a flood, with dead bodies sliding down the steps of the sanctuary. As in Daniel 9 verse 27, Titus attempts to negotiate with the Jewish defenders to surrender. Titus employs the services of Flavius Josephus, who is a Jew that has defected against the holy people and is now a compatriot of the Roman army. Josephus is sent to translate the negotiations from Titus to the Jews. Josephus was given a Roman citizenship and welfare by Emperor Vespasian. He also adopted the name Flavius, synonymous to the Flavian dynasty. Josephus, the former Jew, served Titus and relinquished the tactics of the Jews to Titus. In Daniel 9 verse 27, in the middle of the seven, he will put an end to the sacrifice and offerings. Halfway through the cease attack, Titus's negotiations through the translation of Josephus fails. Josephus is wounded and Titus is nearly captured. All hell breaks loose and the Roman army utterly destroys the holy city. In Daniel 9 verse 27, and at the temple he will set up an abomination that causes desolation. The Jewish diaspora was the result. Dispersion of the Israelites. The center of Judaism had been destroyed, leaving the Jewish people displaced for what ended up being centuries upon centuries. In Daniel 9 verse 27, the end that is decreed is poured out on him. Titus is this person. Titus died in the same farmhouse as his father. Apollonius of Tyana wants Titus to be on guard against bitter enemies while his father Vespasian is alive. But after his father dies, be careful of your own kin. Apollonius of Tyana foretells Titus's death will be by sea, meaning that of eating a deadly sea cucumber, which was possibly an idea used by Emperor Nero to kill dinner guests. Domitian, Titus's brother, Domitian, the man of lawlessness, is suspected of Titus's poisoning, as told by Apollonius of Tyana.